Hey, what's up everybody? Jason here. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out. So today I've got the Alesis Nitro Max behind me, and I want to answer the question, is this the perfect e-kit for a small home studio? Now that probably gave you a good laugh. Is this cheap entry-level kit a perfect home studio kit? But this is why I say that. So I was recording with the original Strike Pro that I owned for 4 years, and also with acoustic drums. Now, when we moved, I sold all that stuff. We moved to a smaller place. I've got a smaller space here, and I need something that is more compact, that I can fit in this general purpose room. This is my home office, kind of a hangout room plus the music room. And I've basically decided to commit to recording with MIDI. So when I was recording with the acoustic drums, I had the full microphone set up. And when I was recording with the Strike Pro, I was using either the individual audio outputs or through MIDI or through the stereo outputs. And there's pros and cons to all of those different types of things. But for my situation, I've decided I'm going to stick with MIDI. Number one, because it's easier to record with. And number two, the customization that you get with all the different drum plugins and sounds. You can really customize your drum sound to fit in the song, and you don't have to worry about tweaking and playing around with the module and then getting it right. I used to have, I don't know, 15 to 20 different custom kits set up depending on the style of music. And even then, if I was recording with the audio with the Strike Pro, I'd still use drum replacement here and there if I wanted a different sounding snare. So I'm just making all of that stuff go away, and I want to record through MIDI. So let's talk a little bit about what this thing comes with. So it comes in one box that's small enough to probably fit in the back seat of any compact car, so you don't have to rent a truck or anything like that to get this thing home. It's pretty light, so one person can carry it as well. You get all mesh pads, you get a 10-inch snare, 3 8-inch toms, 3 10-inch single zone cymbals, and you get a kick pedal, drumsticks, and the kick pad plus the module and the rack. So you get everything you need to be up and running and playing, except for somewhere to sit. So budget for that. Talking a little bit about the module, it's a pretty simple module. The interface is very, very easy to use. On the back, you get a USB port. You get 2 extra inputs for pads. So you get an extra cymbal and an extra pad, because Alesis does sell an expansion kit for this as well. I think it's $99. You get an extra tom and an extra cymbal. You also get a left and right audio output and an auxiliary in. You also get obviously your headphone jack on the side, which is a 1/8 input jack. Now the module does have Bluetooth, but you can't connect Bluetooth headphones to it. You can just connect your Bluetooth audio device, and it does not do MIDI over Bluetooth either. Quickly going through the front of the module, you get a nice little iPad or iPhone holder here on the top, which is nice if you're going to be using the included Drumeo subscription to watch some videos. You don't need to get another mount or mount something else to the rack, which is nice. And the controls are very simple. The kit and the voice buttons are multifunction, so as you keep pressing those, that's what cycles you through the settings on the kit. And for being an inexpensive module, you get some pretty good settings. You can obviously adjust your retriggering, your sensitivity, your threshold, but you also get a 3-band EQ, which is pretty nice, so you can customize the sounds a little bit. You can turn reverb on or off. You can set the level of the reverb as well, and it's pretty easy to do through that interface. The other nice thing about the module is it's set up very well as a practice kit, because it has built-in beats, rhythms, and songs, and the controls on the front make it very easy for you to practice and get feedback. So if you're playing along with beats or rhythms, the screen will actually show you if you're playing faster or slower, and it has a little good sticker that pops up if you're right on the beat, which is nice. But what I like about the controls, if you're playing along with one of the songs that are built into the module, there is a drum mute button. So you hit the little play practice button, and that will play the song as is. Then if you want to play along without their drums, you can turn the click on, and then you can hit the drum mute button right there within reach, and then you can play along yourself, which is nice. Okay, so I'm going to get into my main use case, which is recording. Now, the first thing, stepping down from the Strike Pro or an acoustic kit to this, feels like I'm sitting behind a kid's toy. I will say the rack like I said, feels very cheap. It does move around quite a bit. And like many other people have reported, the arm that holds the snare is basically useless. It's going to keep falling out, and there's no way you can tighten that thing enough to keep it in place, because if you do over tighten it, you're going to crack the cheap plastic. So invest in a snare stand, which I'm going to. I'll just find something used on Kijiji for 10 or 20 bucks, and then you won't have to worry about that problem anymore. The other thing is the hi-hat controller has Velcro on the bottom, so it sticks to your carpet, which is nice. I wish they would have done the same under the kick tower and under the kick pedal, because this thing is always trying to run away. So if you are using this thing, maybe mount it facing towards a wall. You can rest the kick tower up against it and it's not going to move. Doesn't matter how much I tighten those front screws and dug it into my carpet here, the thing still slides away. So I'm going to get some Velcro to hold that in place. The actual playability, it does take a bit of an adjustment, obviously, to go from a bigger kit to this smaller one. But like I said, I'm going to commit to recording with MIDI. This thing is mapped to the general MIDI standard. You just plug it into your DAW and you're good to go. And you get infinite customization with your sounds, which is what I like the most. Some of the songs that I've done, I've used the Logic drummer to actually create the parts. So I've either used the sequencer, the MIDI piano roll feature where you're just actually clicking and typing the notes in, or I've started with the Logic drummer where if you create an arrangement inside of Logic and you've added some of your parts already, you can tell the drummer to follow your other tracks and it will automatically try to create drum parts that fit. So when you create the arrangement in Logic, you can set an intro, verse, chorus, bridge, etc. And the Logic drummer will try to create a feel that moves from section to section, but you don't get the freedom to customize that. So you kind of have to get it close enough. And then what I would do is I would convert that to MIDI and then make my final tweaks. And especially when you want to play something really simple, it's hard to get the Logic drummer to play something that's very simple. So having a little small kit here, if I've got a simple song that I want to play, it's very easy and fast for me to record this and very easy to modify it after the fact. Now, one of the cool things with Logic is it has this humanize feature. So with a kit like this, you're obviously not getting the highest quality triggers, so you're going to get machine gunning. If you're just playing along with your headphones, depending on how you've got the threshold and the sensitivity set, you are going to get some machine gunning depending on how heavy-handed of a player you are. So when that translates to recording with MIDI, you're going to be stuck with a whole bunch of notes that are at 127 velocity, which is the maximum MIDI velocity, and it's just going to sound artificial. So it's nice that Logic has this humanized thing where it will basically randomize the velocity hits from thresholds that you set, and it can make it sound a little bit more natural. So you don't have to worry too much about the module and its limitations for sensitivity and threshold and stuff. You can do that kind of in post-production, and you can also make some tweaks. So that's really the reason why I wanted to check this thing out. I've already recorded a song with it. And basically no difference between this and the Strike Pro when I was recording with MIDI. So I think this can be a perfect e-kit for a small home studio. I think there's two main use cases for this kit. One is a general practice kit, and that might be you already have an extra kit and you want something small that you can just practice on and stick in the corner of a room somewhere. Second part of that first part would be if you're just getting started with drums or you have kids that want to get into drums. For $579 Canadian, this thing is a no-brainer because the only thing that really competes with it, I think, is the Titan 20. The Titan 20 also comes with mesh heads, and the sounds in the module are the sounds in the module. At this price point, you're going to get sounds that are pretty good. They're not going to be stellar, but I think they'd be good enough for somebody who's learning drums. And then obviously my main case for recording, because you can just plug it in and it all works. Now, I did try recording with GarageBand on my phone, so I plugged in the USB cable into my phone, and in GarageBand for the iPhone, there's a little setting that you can set for multi-input or multi-track recording, and it worked, but the latency made it basically unusable. So there's about a second in latency. You'd hit the snare, and then you'd hear the echo about a second later. So completely not usable, but I'm going to try a couple of other options recording with the iPad to see how it goes. And the other thing is you do not get Bluetooth MIDI. So it's not like I could connect my computer, which is here at the desk, with the kit there over Bluetooth MIDI and then use my phone as a remote controller, because Logic does have a companion app for the iPad and the iPhone, so you can do remote recording. So if I'm sitting back here playing guitar on something, I'll have the iPad beside me and I've got my audio interface and everything here. So you couldn't do that with this kit, but since I've got a MacBook, I just move the Mac over there and plug it straight in, and Bob's your uncle. So is this a kit worth buying? I've only had it for about a day. It's fun to play on. You can't really get the drums. You're limited with where you can actually put the drums just because of the rack. And like I said, the rack does move a lot. It feels pretty cheap. That's really my only complaint. That and the fact that the snare is going to probably keep popping out because that arm just is not going to stay in place, especially if you're hitting hard. But I think for my case, something small, something compact, and I'm going to commit to recording with MIDI does make it the perfect e-kit. So I'm going to do a more in-depth review on recording with this thing over time with a couple of samples. But remember to hit like and subscribe. You'll get notified when those videos come out. And if you've got questions specifically about recording and using this for recording, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.